Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a really interesting mix. We're talking government policy, social justice advocacy, and cutting-edge blockchain tech.
Yeah, it's quite the combination.
Our subject is Scrypt Wallet, and what's particularly intriguing, I think, is the background of its founder, Corey Jones.
Definitely. We've been through quite a stack of sources for this one. Everything from his detailed professional profile, descriptions of the startup itself on places like Unicorns Club, content from their website,
Right.
Even parts of a pitch transcript. So yeah, a good amount of material to sort of unpack.
Absolutely. And our mission for this deep dive really is to explore this, well, unique journey. You have Corey Jones, deeply embedded in Rhode Island policy, social justice work, and then he launches a crypto startup. So we want to dig into that transition, but also how Scrypt Wallet itself aims to simplify the whole digital asset thing.
Especially their focus on tokenized real-world assets and these very specific crypto niches they seem to be targeting.
Exactly. The goal, as always, is find the important stuff in these sources and figure out, what it could mean for you.
Okay, so let's start maybe before the crypto scene.
Yeah.
Let's understand Corey Jones's story first. The sources really paint a picture of someone involved in social justice, advocacy, basically since his teens.
Yeah, it seems like really young.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like casual involvement either. The sources say at just 19, he was a national delegate at the Democratic National Convention.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and involved with nonprofits like timetoRoam.org, timetoadvocate.org, even chaired some. And he was apparently instrumental in starting the first state and regional Black Lives Matter PAC, blmripc.org.
Right, I saw that. Using that structure to push for things like community violence intervention through policy papers.
Yeah, that's serious dedication from early on.
It really is. And he didn't just stay in that nonprofit or grassroots world. He moved into some pretty significant roles within Rhode Island state government. Served as a policy advisor in Governor McKee's administration. Contributed to major criminal justice initiatives, statewide body cams, crisis intervention training, involved with the state's RI 2030 plan, too.
Wow, so deep in the mechanics of state policy then.
Yeah, and the sources also mention his time as chief of policy and planning at the governor's workforce board.
Okay.
Which sounds like, even deeper into the practical side staffing committees, writing policy, data analysis, drafting specific federal policy like WIOA implementation, MOUs, that sort of thing.
Right, the nuts and bolts. He was also active at the city level in Providence, co-vice chair for a committee on ending gun violence, political committees, even ran for city council. And the through line, according to his profile anyway, was always about crafting policies, looking at emerging industries.
Ah, interesting.
And how they could benefit marginalized communities, plus supporting youth.
That focus on emerging industries is definitely a key phrase, especially when you look at his education. Alongside all this policy work, he got a specific certification, leading in AI from Harvard Kennedy School Exec Ed.
Oh, okay. When was that?
July 2024. So that interest in future-focused tech, maybe it was already there kind of simmering underneath the policy work.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it still raises the question, right? How does someone with such a, deeply rooted background in social impact, government policy, community reform, all very human systems, how do you make that leap to founding a crypto wallet company?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because his stated current focus, according to these sources from March 2025, is Scrypt Wallet. He's listed as the CEO.
Right. And he didn't start it alone, did he?
No, he founded it with Gabriel Finn, who's the VP. And the sources mention they've actually been friends since childhood.
Okay.
Apparently bonding over Bitcoin and business ideas from way back. So maybe it wasn't such a sudden jump after all, but more like an interest that developed alongside everything else.
That makes more sense, yeah. So Scrypt Wallet, the legal entity Hope Street Strategies, LLC, formed May 2024. Described as a non-custodial multi-chain wallet.
And their big picture goal, as they put it, is bridging traditional finance to the, quote, future of finance.
So what's the problem they're tackling? What's the pain point they see in the market based on these sources?
They're pretty direct about it, actually. They say the crypto space now is just saturated, it's confusing, especially for new people.
Definitely.
And risky, because there's so much focus on highly speculative tokens. A lot of the existing wallets just feel intimidating or inconvenient for regular folks. And here's a key thing they highlight. There's this massive global market, billions of people, unbanked or underbanked,
right,
who currently lack access to tokenized real assets, things that could offer stability or yield. And they also point to a very specific existing market gap, the $2.3 billion script mining industry.
Script mining, like Dogecoin,
Yeah.
Litecoin.
Exactly those. Apparently, miners dealing with those coins lack a dedicated, trusted wallet that supports all 15 Scrypt coins, forces them onto potentially less reputable foreign exchanges.
Okay, so that paints a picture. It's overwhelming for newcomers, especially maybe those outside traditional banking, and also underserved for some existing crypto communities.
Right. So, Scrypt Wallet's solution, their pitch, is to build a self-custodial wallet. And that means you control your keys, not them.
Crucial point in crypto.
Very crucial. And designed to radically simplify the whole digital asset experience.
Their goal, it seems, is for it to feel like a familiar app, like a Web 2 app. Easy onboarding email, social login, and the sources highlight, importantly, aiming for no seed phrases for that initial access.
Which is a huge barrier for lots of people, right? That seed freeze management.
Absolutely. Security is also a big focus for them, though. They talk about integrating with infrastructure like Fireblocks, using multi-party computation MPC.
Can you unpack MPC a bit?
Yeah, basically think of it as splitting the private key needed to access your crypto into pieces, held in different places, so there's no single point of failure. They talk about bulletproof safety, but without making it super complicated for the user. That's the goal, anyway.
Got it. And they're not just opening the floodgates to everything crypto, are they?
No, they're aiming for curated access. Quote, high-quality crypto and tokenized real-world assets. Their core belief, their thesis, seems to be that for Web3 to really hit the mainstream, wallets just have to be simpler, more intuitive.
Human-friendly, as they put it.
Exactly, human-friendly.
And what's really fascinating is how they're trying to achieve that. By focusing on these specific, kind of powerful niches, the sources seem to highlight three main areas.
Right, the first one is that Scrypt coin support. They explicitly state they want to be the first crypto wallet with full integration for all those Scrypt proof-of-work tokens, PP, DOGE, LTC, the whole family.
So that directly addresses that gap for the $2.3 billion mining industry you mentioned, a trusted self-custody option.
Exactly. Aiming for interoperability within that specific ecosystem.
Okay, what's the second niche?
This is the one that might catch a lot of people's attention. Tokenized real-world assets, or RWAs.
Ah, putting traditional assets onto the blockchain.
Precisely. Often via Solana, in their case.
Mm-hmm.
And the sources give specific examples of what they plan to offer.
Like what?
Like tokenized U.S. bonds, stable, yield-generating assets, now globally accessible on-chain. They mention tokenized gold, specifically VNX gold.
Backed by real gold, I assume?
Yeah, described as 1.1, backed by physical gold, stored in secure, audited vaults, regulated under Liechtenstein's blockchain laws. Highlighted as good for economic uncertainty.
Interesting. What else?
Tokenized real estate, through a platform called Lofty.ai. Lets you get exposure to income-generating properties without buying the whole building.
Fractional ownership, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And tokenized stocks via Ondo Global Markets, stock equities, wrapped as blockchain assets for potentially borderless trading.
Yeah, that sounds legally complex.
It is. And the sources do note, importantly, that laws around tokenized securities are still evolving. They state Scrypt Wallet is operating under strict legal guidance for compliance. So that's key.
Okay. And these RWAs, how are they positioning them?
As risk-abated investments compared to, say, meme coins, they mention potential yields, even citing 17%, 40% via DeFi strategies.
Whoa, 17, 40%. That sounds high. Linked to DeFi strategies, you said.
Yeah, linked to DeFi strategies, which obviously carry their own risks and complexity that users need to understand. But the core message is focusing on tangible, potentially yield-bearing assets as a differentiator.
Right, moving beyond pure speculation.
Okay.
And the third focus area?
That's the simplified and guided Web3 experience itself. They keep circling back to features for ease of use and security.
Like the self-custody we talked about.
Right, your keys on your device. Integrated exchanges within the app so you can buy or sell without moving funds out. Account abstraction.
Making it feel more like a normal online account.
Basically, yeah. Plus, easy on-ramps to get money in and recovery options. The vision, straight from the sources, is to be an accessible gateway to real-world utility in Web3.
And onboard that next billion users, they mentioned that again, particularly focusing on accessibility for those outside traditional finance.
Yeah. Oh, and they also have this unique engagement thing mentioned, GameFi integration, a spin-the-wheel airdrop feature.
Huh. How does that work?
Seems designed to attract and engage Solana users specifically, and it actually ties into one of their revenue streams.
Interesting. Okay, let's maybe pivot slightly. Look at the business side, their traction, what the sources tell us there.
Well, it's a very small team right now, just 3 members listed. Corey Jones is CEO, Gabriel Finn is VP, and Pushpinder Kadian is head of development.
Lean startup phase and their business model. How do they plan to make money?
Several streams listed. A 0.99% fee on swaps, buys, sells mostly Solana-based to start. A smaller 0.2% fee on transfers and receives.
Which could be relevant for those Scrypt users moving off other platforms, maybe.
That seems to be the idea, yeah, providing a trusted option. And then a 2% fee from partner token integrations, which probably connects to that airdrop fund and the spin the wheel feature.
Got it. And their marketing plan.
Digital Ads X, Meta, Google, leveraging script mining content creators to hit that niche. And these strategic token partnerships where partners chip into a shared airdrop fund.
Distributed via the wheel to pull users in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And interestingly, their ad messaging is specifically targeting traditional investors. Think buy gold, buy bonds, not buy the next meme coin.
Positioning themselves differently. What about traction? Are people using it yet?
Sources say they're scaling MVP testing now, refining based on feedback. They do have early global users and advisors already.
Oh, where?
The breakdown listed is North America 50%, Sub-Saharan Africa 30%, and Asia 20%.
Wow, that's quite a global spread for an early stage.
It is notable, yeah. The sources also use this readiness level framework. Product market validating is 6 out of 9. Team CEO is 8 out of 9.
So decent validation on the core concept and team.
Right. But initial business model is lower, 4 out of 9, and customer benefits validated is 6 out of 9. Suggests they're past pure concept, have some validation, but still refining the business side.
Makes sense. And financially, where are they?
Very early stage. Funding readiness is 3 out of 9. They secured initial small funding, raised $10 in May 2025 from, own money, friends, family.
Bootstrapping initially.
Pretty much. And they're currently in a small fundraising round, targeting $10K to $30 this month, June 2025.
And what's that money for?
Planned use is 50% marketing sales, 30% product development, and 20% compliance security.
Okay. And valuation?
They list a pre-money valuation of $2.7 million, projecting $12.5 million in 4 years. Ambitious goals.
Standard startup projections, perhaps? What about their roadmap? What's next?
Near term. App Store integration Q3 2025. Then Q4 2025, integrating more blue-chip cryptos, adding an auto-buy feature, DeFi access, education resources.
Building out the features.
Yeah. Then Q1 2026, onboarding content creators, launching broader ad campaigns. And by Q2 2026, solidifying partnerships and aiming to be a, quote, premier tokenized RWA platform.
Okay, quite a roadmap.
So let's bring it back to the beginning then. We connect all this, the focus on simplicity, these specific niches, RWAs, onboarding the next billion. How might this tie back into Corey Jones's background, all that policy, social justice, government work?
Well, like you said, the sources don't draw a direct line with a quote saying, I'm doing crypto because of my policy work. But you can definitely infer a potential alignment, can't you?
Okay.
Someone who spent years focused on policy reform, community intervention, financial access within traditional systems, they might naturally see the potential in blockchain tools if they can be simplified.
Right, to reach populations maybe underserved by the traditional banks and financial systems.
Exactly. His stated interest earlier in emerging industries and benefiting marginalized communities. It sounds conceptually aligned with a product trying to give easy access to new asset types like tokenized gold or real estate.
Through just a simple wallet on a smartphone. Accessible to potentially anyone.
Yeah. It's a different toolkit than government policy, obviously, but maybe there's a shared motivation there around financial empowerment or inclusion. It feels less like just building cool tech and maybe more about using tech as a tool to bridge gaps and provide access, which resonates strongly with his stated past priorities in the policy world.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. So pulling this all together then, what does this deep dive into Scrypt Wallet and Corey Jones really mean for you, the listener?
Well, first, I think it's a really strong example of a company trying to tackle that huge barrier in Web3, complexity.
Yeah, the user experience problem.
Exactly. They're betting big that making wallets genuinely user-friendly, focusing on real utility through RWAs, and serving specific communities like script miners. That's the way forward.
Second, it definitely highlights the momentum behind tokenizing traditional assets. Gold, bonds, real estate. This isn't just theory anymore.
Right. Companies like this are building platforms aiming to put these assets right on your phone, which could potentially change how you think about diversifying or managing your own assets, especially globally.
And finally,
Finally, it just showcases how founders from non-traditional tech backgrounds, you know, someone deep in policy, government, social impact, are coming into crypto, and they're bringing really unique perspectives, maybe different motivations than your typical tech entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely a different lens. So we've taken a deep dive into Scrypt Wallet, looked at its vision for simplifying digital assets, its focus on Scrypt coins, tokenized real-world assets, and traced this really remarkable path of its founder, Corey Jones.
Yeah, from the halls of government, social advocacy, all the way to the cutting edge of Web3.
We've seen their early-stage vision bridging TradFi and the future of finance,
Yeah.
simplifying access, potentially onboarding a whole new wave of users. People may be left out of traditional finance or just intimidated by crypto as it is now. So here's a final thought for you to consider. If the future of finance really does involve making assets like gold, bonds, real estate as easy to access on your phone as, I don't know, sending a text, all through a simple self-custodial wallet, how might that fundamentally change how people everywhere save, invest, manage their wealth? And, maybe just as importantly, what role do the unique, maybe unexpected backgrounds of the people building these tools play in shaping that specific vision of the future?
Step up your game, join the unicorns club. Making it rain, nothing ever enough. Invest in the future, watch it all